are we trying to create like an all-star team for the Chargers right now? Like, is that like we're like really going through like all these people that we want? This is like our dream team right now. I'm like, okay, let's make this happen, baby. This is like, okay, like we can.
Well,
yeah,
we got to do what we got to do to be able to get a win, you know,
yeah,
get a Super Bowl, man. I mean, you got to think of like the Rams and what they're doing, man.
That's right.
I mean, they're creating all-star teams, and you know, I mean, they make mid-season acquisitions a lot, and they do what they got to do to get to Super Bowls, you know.
Exactly.
So,
you know, one of the interesting ones they've done too is picking up Eric Weddle just for the playoff run.
Yeah,
right?
that's really wild. I was like, oh, that came out of nowhere. I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah, he was retired for a couple of years, and he steps out for just that short period of time.
Yeah,
just to come back and get a ring. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Bolt Bros, here we go.
Bolt Bros, let's go. Woo!
Here. We got another episode for you here. We want to talk about the free agents that are available on the outside. We already talked a little bit about our side of who's available, and now we want to talk about who we might want to pick up from other teams and bring them over to Los Angeles and bring us to the Super Bowl this year. And I guess I should say too, like a lot of my criteria for players that I want to pick up in the free agency are like younger, obviously like maybe anyone from like 25 year old range, maybe on their like second, maybe third year contract or something. Like that's kind of where like I'm looking for my players, and like, you know, someone who has good experience and like is proven to do well, and actually has massive upside potential for us to actually kind of stick with us for a while. So that way, maybe we can start to you know get that solid playoff runs and get in there a lot more. So I guess I'll start us off here and just throw out somebody I think that we should probably pick up. So I really like DJ Jones as a defensive tackle for San Francisco. He actually had a huge year for San Francisco, and I really feel like it would be really good for us to pick him up because I mean, say we did pick up somebody in the draft, someone who's new and young. We just need someone who like actually knows that position really well and actually can help the other person play better. To be a mentor with him and actually give him more pointers and stuff like that, and how to actually play in the league. Because obviously college ball versus the pros is a whole nother level, and like it's much faster paced, and all these players are the pros, you know. And like we've talked about before, you can any given Sunday you can win or lose. Doesn't matter if the team is has a below 200 winning record right now, or even for the past couple of seasons, you know. And so I feel like, you know, that DJ Jones, like he has a lot of potential and a lot more room to grow. And I don't know if they're gonna want to pick him up. I haven't done too much research on who they want on their side, but I would love to see Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco actually try and go after them. And maybe at least just have a conversation there, you know, like let's see what they can do.
And I think you can get him pretty cheap too, right? I don't think he's not as proven as other players, right? But I think he did a good job for the Niners. One guy I like is this guy from the Jets, Polonara Futsasaki. I mean, that dude's just huge, man. He's just a big guy. He's always been healthy. And he, basically his whole point is he stops the run, right? I think our biggest off-season need right now, especially if we don't sign Linville Joseph, right? Which, you know, we basically know why Linville Joseph couldn't stop the runs, because they double-teamed him every time. And they just pushed him out of the way.
Gobbled him
up.
But,
yeah, exactly, right? So if we don't pick a nice, you know, defensive lineman in the draft, you know, Fukusaki could be really good, and he could be a good, you know, pro, player that could be a nice compliment to Linville Joseph if we re-sign him again, which I think we will. I think we'll re-sign Linville Joseph. I don't think he'll let him go. Brandon Staley speaks very highly of him. Now, I guess the question is, though, I mean, he gets paid, what, $8 million a year, right? So are we going to be able to really re-sign him again for another $8 million? I mean, that's a lot of money, and he's getting older, too. So, maybe you get a guy like Fugasaki. Am I saying that right? Fatakasi? Anyway, you get my point. And but look, I mean, the guy had a lot of pressures. He did a good job stopping the run, and that's what we really need, right? Yep. So that'd be one of my initial picks.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing too, we always got to consider Justin Jones too. So I mean, he might be coming back, and he's a lot younger of a guy too. And,
exactly.
And that's kind of my thing is age at the defensive tackle position. I always feel like when you're starting to get into the 33, 34, range, I think that's kind of when you start going out. It makes me go back to Jamal Williams. Yeah. And he was in his mid-30s, and that's kind of when his body was just done. And that's when he kind of had to step away. I mean, I do still, and once again, I do think of a guy who we could go after who is in that kind of 32, 33 range for maybe a 2-year kind of situation, because I don't see that position as like a long-term sign kind of position. I look at it as like a 2-year type position for us. Okay. And I think about that just for bigger contracts that we have to sign for. But I think Akeem Hicks is another guy we have to think about.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing with him too, I mean, Brandon Staley was there in Chicago too as a linebacker coach, so maybe there's some sort of continuity there, that they maybe know each other there from the Chicago days that he was there. I mean, the thing about Akeem Hicks, he's an absolute beast. He's a good, solid player. He gets over about 60. He's about almost like 60% over a defensive snaps every game, so he's always on the field kind of thing. He gets sacks too. I mean, not saying that's necessary, but it's something that definitely has needed for penetration in the middle part of the line. So, and I feel like we haven't had anybody in the defensive line for a very long time that have really done it well. Jerry Tillery has some flashes every now and then, but I think Akeem Hicks could be a good signing for us. A good veteran, depth signing. Now, I feel we're still going to draft some defensive tackles at some point in the first 3 rounds.
Right.
Yep.
But I think he would be a phenomenal upgrade for us in the middle of the field. Even if you put Justin Jones next to him too, I think he'd be phenomenal also too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where my first thought is. And going back to DJ Jones, just to even kind of talk about him.
Yeah.
He was actually the highest in the league percentage for run stopping percentage. The highest in the league. So it was almost about 50% of the time he was the one that would make the stop. And so he was at 48%, basically the highest run stop win rate as a defensive tackle. So that's pretty big to think about.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was only getting paid $3.4 million. He's 27 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a young guy that has a lot of, potential ahead of him. So I think DJ Jones would be a great one. And now I don't know where he's going to be signed and what kind of money he's asking for, but I think that's a great one too.
Well,
so
yeah. I think he looks a lot like Linville Joseph too. I mean, almost exactly. I mean, it looks spitting image.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep.
Well, and I just kind of went into that one a little bit more too while you guys were talking and and listening as well. But yeah, San Francisco they're struggling on their cap space for this year as well.
Exactly.
But then again, so Jimmy Garoppolo though, I mean he's gone. Like they're he's basically gonna he wants to play somewhere else, or they want to cut ties with him, so that's gonna really free up a ton of cap space for them for that this year. But yeah, so I didn't realize that about DJ Jones, so that'd be huge, I think. And
I agree.
One that I kind of like, a little bit of a dark horse pick, and I don't know that it's super necessary. But what about the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, right?
Yeah.
Obviously a rivalry team.
Yeah.
And he's getting a little older, but you could sign him for a couple of years, right? The only reason why I kind of like that one as a thought is you got Derwin James, and what if you put Tyrann Mathieu next to him?
Yeah.
Talk about putting a lid on it.
Right.
That would just be nasty, right?
It would be.
You would not. You would not have the deep pass, right? You would take away a big part of, the deep pass 100%, right? I mean, look at our division alone, right? I mean, Derek Carr didn't throw the ball deep against the Chargers.
Yeah.
Mahomes obviously tried, didn't do a great job, but we would be making the Chiefs a bit one-dimensional.
Yeah.
If you could completely stop the deep pass, and then all we have to do is force and stop the run, right?
Yeah.
And we increase our defensive tackles. But he would be I like him in that regard because, the two deep backs are just going to be absolutely solid, and they're good tacklers.
Yeah.
So that's another one too. But he's going to want a lot of money, right? I mean, it's interesting to see how much money he would ask for. In fact, I'm not even sure how much he gets paid now, but
I think he's definitely looking up for like a pretty big contract, no matter where he goes, because he was amazing out there.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, we're going to get rid of Brian Bulaga's gone. That's going to free up $10 million in cap space.
Yep.
We probably signed Tyrann Mathieu to a 2 or 3 year contract pretty easily.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yep. That's what's like.
Yeah, that would be pretty good too. I think it would be interesting to be able to really shore up that backfield more. But I mean, it's funny to me, and I know we've chatted about this in previous videos about having a really solid CB1 or cornerback 1.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to really go to the top, you got to go to J.C. Jackson out of the Patriots.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean, that guy is an absolute stud. Once again, an undrafted guy that just gets developed from the Patriots, and Bill Belichick figure out a way to be able to develop these guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, that guy is all over the field. He's had a couple phenomenal good years and everything. I mean, the thing about him is that you're probably going to be in a $100 million base contract with that guy.
Oof.
Like, it's a lot to look at. It's a lot to look at. But man, just think of the nastiness adding. If you were to say, if we've got Honey Badger too, and then you got J.C. Jackson on top of that, I mean, our backfield would be ridiculous. Now, once again, are we putting a lot of money in a position that, we kind of need to work on the front end of our defense, not the back end of our defense too? But it would be phenomenal to watch J.C. Jackson out on that field with Derwin James too. You got Michael Davis, you got Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, that would be really, really fun to watch. It would be a very, very fun backfield. I mean, you wouldn't want to throw on us. And I mean, mind you, if you say Mahomes, he'll throw the ball on us. I mean, for sure. I mean, if you think about if Aaron Rodgers is going to come to the Broncos, which everybody that thinks is a Broncos fan thinks that's going to happen, he's going to be throwing the ball on us too. So who knows? Who knows, man? Who knows? But that's one guy that kind of came to mind.
One of the other thoughts that I had too is what with the Raiders hiring Josh McDaniels, what if they go after Garoppolo, right? You already talked about Garoppolo earlier.
Yeah.
They could go get him. Apparently Carr says he really likes what Josh McDaniels is doing. That's what he said, allegedly. But you got to really wonder. Josh McDaniels fell apart really bad at Denver, and I think he may do it his way and walk in there and cut some heads off and make some major changes. So could be interesting to see what happens at the Raiders as well in that regard.
Right. So I was, J.C. Jackson was definitely also on my list as well. I would absolutely love to see him play for us as well. I think it would be absolutely worth it for him to get a huge contract from us. I don't know, maybe like you said, I don't know how much he's wanting to get paid, but we absolutely do need a ball hawk out there like that, someone who just grab that ball, just take it away, because Derwin James is he can be as well, and he's moving around that field all the time and stuff like that, so that would be huge. But Money Badger, or is it Honey Badger? Yeah, that's it.
Money Badger.
Money Badger was Badgley, so
Mike Badgley.
Get your Badgers right.
Damn Badgers. Yeah. But but he would be amazing too, because obviously if we're gonna play against expect to play against Mahomes at least 3 times a year, because when we get to the playoffs we're gonna have to play him again probably, that would be huge too, because obviously he's been with Mahomes for a while, and so he knows how he works and knows how and kind of figures him out. He's got his number, I hope. So I would actually like to see some practice footage of them kind of going at it and see how many times he's maybe picked him off and practice and stuff, because that would be really, really impressive for me too. So I would say depending on our situation with wide receivers goes, I would actually like to see Alan Lazard from the Green Bay Packers come our way as well. And I like that pick as well, also because Green Bay is also struggling as far as salary caps goes.
They're way up.
Yeah, they're way over budget, and they got to make a lot of moves, and so he's probably not going to be able to stick with Green Bay. And he, I feel like, is another Mike Williams type of player. Really good for like those deep threats and those big plays, and like he could actually have. I feel like he has a ton of upside potential. That he can be able to actually make those potentially be another future franchise player to potentially replace Keenan Allen eventually. Because I think he does have that potential. It just kind of matters. It depends on how he performs, in another scheme. Obviously he did well with Aaron Rodgers as the league MVP. Thrown to him, and I think if we had Justin Herbert thrown to him, he would also just elevate even more. So so I think that would be a really good pickup. So.
Yeah. And I will say this about Justin Herbert too. I think you put any wide receiver, any tight end, any running back out there, he's going to make him better.
Yeah.
I mean, think about his first season, right? He had a horrible line. They ranked the worst line in the league.
Right.
And they obviously improved a ton, which is through free agency. And I would say this, I think he'll make any wide receiver look good, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the argument, around, any wide receiver probably you could plug and play and do fairly well with.
Exactly.
Yep.
Another person I thought about you could probably get pretty cheap. One of Brandon Staley's pedigree would be Sebastian Joseph Day from the Rams.
Okay.
He was out. I think he suffered a torn muscle on like week 7.
Okay.
And he was out, for most of the season. But you could probably get him cheap. Because we all know the Rams are way over cap. They're going to struggle. They're going to have to dump people pretty quick. There's no chance they can sign. I mean, Von Miller, the list goes on and on. They're going to lose a lot of players here pretty shortly. But but I think Sebastian Joseph Day, you could probably get him fairly inexpensively, probably sign for a $3 or $4 million contract.
Yeah.
And get some additional depth, maybe third down, fourth down type of guy, I think he's an easy, simple pickup. Plus, he knows Brandon Staley's defense, right? Yeah. He's been playing it ever since he showed up for the Rams.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a good pickup, and once again, continuity. You need to have those guys that understand the defense. I mean, the defense that's basically being run with the Rams is the defense that's basically being run by the Chargers. So, I think that could be a great pickup too. I don't really know where his dollar figure is going to be at and what he's going to ask for, but I think that's a good point. I think it's a very, very good point to be able to pick him up. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be good.
Be great.
I think he is activated also for Super Bowl too, so he is going to play in the Super Bowl. So
I'll keep my eyes on him then for sure out in the field.
Yep. Yeah, he'd be good. And going back to one of the other guys that I was thinking about, and I'm thinking for the wide receiver position, we don't know what's going on with Mike Williams, and he's probably going to be getting some other offers somewhere else, and who knows where his figure is going to be at and everything. It's going to be probably pretty high. But, one of the guys that I think about, one of the guys that's listed as a free agency and to me, I want a receiver that's kind of like a yards after catch kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so, because I feel really strongly we lack that very hard on our team. And look, Keenan Allen gets open. That's great. I want to see those guys. I want to see that Cooper Kupp. I want to see that Devontae Adams. I want to see that guy that we could just go out there and just get him the ball in his hands and he could make plays happen.
Yeah.
My mind goes to Chris Godwin from the Bucks, and so he was the 6th ranked wide receiver in the league. Guess who was number 5? Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Well, why was Austin Eckler number 5? Well, it's because he was thrown out in the flat, so he usually was kind of a one-on-one situation to create yards after catch. But if we start looking at other receivers, I mean, I think Mike Williams was 14th in the AFC for yards after catch, but not in the top 20 of the league. So we need to find that guy that could create more yards after the catch, and we have a quarterback that could do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that if we had Chris Godwin, I think he'd be a phenomenal guy to be able to add to this team and just to take that offense to another level if we lose Mike Williams. Because once again, we got a lot of money to spend, but we only have so much that we could spend on the players that are going to leave. So you got to think of all the guys that might ask for big contracts. Mike Williams, Nwasu. I mean, once again, one of these guys could be franchised too. So, but Chris Godwin's the first guy I think of as a wide receiver that I'd love to see. That yards after catch, to me, I think we really, really need that somewhere on our team outside of Austin Eckler.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say about Andrew talking about Justin Herbert looking at getting receivers. Is like a lot of times, like I think Chris Godwin would be great. I worry that he would be too expensive for us. And I think the argument would be is like, look, Justin Herbert's going to make any wide receiver look amazing out there. And so just like, honestly, because I feel like Justin Herbert could be a Tom Brady level quarterback. If we like get him the team that he needs, and Brandon Staley needs, we could have a dynasty on our hands here. And you looking back, I'm like, honestly, I don't remember Tom Brady actually having many like legendary wide receivers out there. I mean, he did have Randy Moss, but for a while, but they didn't win a championship with him. Like it was really unfortunate. I thought Randy Moss would have loved. He's a good enough quarterback.
Got one.
Yeah, he should have got one with him, but you know what? Eli Manning played spoilers on that one, baby. But yeah, so like, I think I struggle to think that it would be really difficult to have both Keelan Allen and Chris Godwin on out there. But that would be absolutely epic, And by the way, like I was just thinking about this too. Is like, are we trying to create like an all-star team for the Chargers right now? Like, is that like we're like really going through like all these people that we want? This is like our dream team right now. I'm like, okay, let's make this happen, baby. This is like, okay, like we can.
Well, we got to do what we got to do to be able to get a win. Get a Super Bowl, man. I mean, you got to think of like the Rams and what they're doing, man.
Right.
I mean, they're creating all-star teams, and I mean, they make mid-season acquisitions a lot, and they do what they got to do to get to Super Bowls. You know,
exactly.
So, one of the interesting ones they've done too is picking up Eric Weddle just for the playoff run.
Yeah,
right?
That's really wild. I was like, oh, that came out of nowhere. I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah, he was retired for a couple of years, and he steps out for just that short period of time. Yeah, just to come back and get a ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that a quarterback's dream to be able to be on the couch and all of a sudden get thrown in the playoffs? Let's just get straight to the playoffs. Let's screw the 17 games.
Okay, cool. I don't need to play the 17 games.
Right to the playoffs. Get to the Super Bowl.
All right, I'm in. Let's go. Let's go.
What a dream.
Yeah. He basically just said, I'm going to let it all hang out because this is going to be my last game, right? So why not?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. That's the way to do it, man.
I think one other guy we could go after is Brandon Sheriff from Washington, or now the Commanders, I should say, right? He's
the commies.
Yeah, the commies.
Commies. Yeah.
Oh,
that's what they said. If you're a player for the team, you're a commie.
You're a commie.
Oh. Yeah. I've heard that before.
Oh yeah.
But like again, like what if we don't sign Ibushi? But he's someone that would shore up that right side, right? And I think, he was a All-Pro guard, Pro Bowl guard, and he was a captain for Washington as well too. Yep. He's a little older, but he could be a guy that could step in for a short period of time, maybe 2 or 3 years, and shore up that line. Yeah. And but again, I think that one really is more dependent on whether Bushi comes back or not, because I really like him a little more.
Yeah.
Of course, he's a bit injury prone at this point too. So but Sheriff might be one we want to look at as well too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually was the highest run block win rate as a guard too in the league.
Nice.
77% win rate. So I mean, that would be pretty great to be able to have him on that side. And he's, from what I remember, he is pretty reliable as a guard too. So he's usually very healthy and everything too. So that would be a really good pickup too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and again, even if you have him as a guard and you don't have we for whatever reason we don't get a right tackle. At least running the ball that direction to the right side to give us a few more yards, right? So I think that would be a good pickup. Again, I don't know what he would ask for, probably quite a lot being a veteran, but, again,
because I know you brought up somebody from the Green Bay Packers, and one other guy that I was thinking about, and I still feel very strongly we need to focus on the linebacking core at some level, because
I think I know exactly who you're gonna say right now too. To be honest.
Yeah. So we need to be able to focus on that level, and I'm thinking even we struck gold with Casey Hayward some years back too, from them, and picking off players that Green Bay Packers for some reason don't re-sign or just let them walk, which tends to be a pretty common theme with him. But I would say Devondre Campbell.
Yep. He's on my list too. So
hey man, quit reading my list.
No man, I wasn't reading on this. Hey, I didn't see no peaks here, no peaks. Yeah. Oh, okay, maybe just that one time. Man. Maybe that one time. Yeah.
Well, the thing that's interesting about him, I mean, he was a second-ranked linebacker in the league with a 84.3 Pro Football Focus grade. So, I mean, he was very, very solid as a linebacker. Now, mind you, one thing too, his tackling grade was at 86.4, and it was the 5th straight mark over 75 for him. Yeah. So 5 years in a row, he's been over 75 as a linebacker.
Right.
I don't think any linebacker on our team, maybe Kaiser White, which I'd have to check on that, might have got close to that. But he's basically a pretty sure guy on the tackling side of things, which I feel that there was a lot of times where missed tackles, trying to arm tackle dudes.
Yeah.
We were not doing very good in that position.
Yeah.
Interesting thing that Pro Football Focus projects that his contract's a 2-year, $6.5 million contract. I don't think that's possible. But I think that he's going to be one of those guys that they're going to try to go after, that I think a lot of teams will want to go after. So, I mean, what's not to say a 2-year, $14-15 million contract sounds good with him with a good amount of guarantees. Well, I mean, maybe even in a $10 million year type of contract might be there. I don't know. But I think that's one of those guys, if we want to even maybe have that continuity of finding gold from Green Bay Packers, I think he'd be a great pickup for us for sure.
Yeah, and I really liked him as well because he had really good numbers for pass rushing and run stopping, obviously, but also he was great for turnovers. He had a couple picks and a couple forced fumbles, and that just creating those opportunities for us to be able to get Justin Herbert back on the field will be phenomenal for us, like in many regards, and so like. I think I actually kind of targeted Green Bay a lot for players to come our way, to be honest, as well, just like you did. And and so, But I was going to say this, though, too, going back, thinking about Green Bay as well. Actually, I wanted to address a comment that we got from one of our videos. One of the comments that we got was that he was saying that he doesn't think that the Aaron Rodgers will come to the AFC West because it's just way too tough of a division. And it would be harder for him to guarantee getting into the playoffs every year. So I think it'd be more feasible, and I think he said that maybe he'll go to the Niners as opposed to So that could be a better division. It's still going to be NFC for him. He already knows the teams there in that division, so it's a very possible thing. So I'm fingers crossed on that. I'd much rather play against Garoppolo at Denver than Aaron Rodgers at Denver.
100%.
So, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like that, right? You bring up a really good point, right? What if he goes to Tampa Bay? Right.
Oh, it's true.
He step in that role. He knows the NFC super well.
Yeah.
He understands the division 100%, right? So, it really is interesting to think about. One other guy I thought about, this was going way down the list.
Okay.
Another offensive tackle is Dennis Kelly from the Titans.
Nice.
He's a pretty, with Brian Bulaga out, he might not be a bad person that could step in on the right side. And he's a veteran from the Titans. Obviously, the Titans, they love to run the ball. They want some big nasties on the front line, right? And this guy looks big nasty. He's got long hair.
Yeah.
Not the best looking dude. He can crack a mirror when he looks at it. But I tell you what,
damn, dude. Hey,
this guy, this guy, get to his face. I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah.
I swear, he'd keep people off Justin Herbert for sure, man. I mean, he is 6'8", and just crazy.
I like that.
But they could probably get him for $3 or $4 million pretty easy. I mean, cheaper than what they got Bulaga for, right? So I guess maybe wrapping this up, when I think about the draft and when I think about free agency, I think there's a lot of people we could go after. James, you said this before, right? It's going to be an interesting offseason, right? Because I think we have a lot of players we can go get.
Yeah.
Again, I still think we're going to address the defensive side more than anything. Mm-hmm. But they still need to make sure that right side is shoring up, right?
Yes.
We Bushi side and get a nice right tackle, get a couple more linemen for the depth in the draft. I think we'll be in good shape.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of players out there, and we got a ton of money to spend.
Yeah.
I guess my last thought would be, is Spanos going to start spending money this year, right?
Yeah.
I always one of the things that I've always been frustrated with him as an owner, we never get close to the salary cap. We always have a lot of money left over. And again, just like baseball, you gotta spend money to win, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a better time for it to happen than right now.
Yeah.
With a stud manager, an absolute amazing quarterback.
Yeah.
It's time to make it happen.
Yep, I agree, man. This is a great time to be able to make that move, to be able to really show that we're a legitimate franchise, to really try to go after those championships. And, as an interesting fact, I just kind of pulled up a little bit on Dennis Kelly. I mean, he had 305 snaps played. He only had 2 penalties and 1 sack allowed all season. So
he's great. Yep.
He's pretty good. I mean, and his rating is at 70.4, which is in the green, which is, at a very elite base level. So, I mean, the thing is, though, this is going to be a fun offseason. I keep repeating that so much because I think this is one of the very first times that in a very long time that Telesco's actually got money to spend. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. And it makes you think, what if they did have some money in mid-season where they would be able to do some sort of trade, too? Because, once again, we really rarely try to acquire players mid-season. They always have the mentality of the next man up kind of mentality. But it's going to be interesting to see where it all leads. I mean, I think we have some of these players that we chatted about. If we're able to get them in, it's going to elevate us to a whole new level. And I think it'll be fun, man. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
And I'll say that this last year we got Andre Roberts and we got Dustin Hopkins, right? That helped us out immensely.
Yeah.
Special teams. And it'll be interesting to see what they use with Andre Roberts for next year too, right? He should be coming back. I would think, you could use him as like a Deebo Samuel type of guy, right? Put him in the back,
Yeah.
Put him as the second running back right there. Just make him kind of a scat back with Austin Eckler. So, make the defense, be on their heels the entire time.
Right.
I think there's a lot of things they could do with him. I think they could not really integrate him into the wide receiving core after, just coming in mid-season. I think there was just nothing else they could do with him.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see what they do with him next year. I think they could do some pretty unique things with him moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I just really feel like that we really do need to actually elevate our own game and like our team, like kind of buying ability and stuff like that, 100%. Because one of the biggest things that I've always felt like that there really is minor league teams in the major leagues of football as well. And that very well could be like all of us teams like the Chargers, the Lions, the Browns, the Bengals, who've never won a Super Bowl. Of course, that's yet to be determined. Obviously, obviously. Sorry, people. Hint, hint. This is recorded before the Super Bowl. I don't know how.
Pre-Super Bowl.
Pre-Super Bowl. So, let's say, I mean, I fingers crossed that the Bengals win. I'm always rooting for the underdog. So, but I really just feel like, I mean, the Rams, their whole game plan was just trying to get the Super Bowl as fast as possible, because realistically, the only team that has brought a Super Bowl to LA was the Raiders, and and I keep telling people at work, they're all Rams fans and stuff, and I was like, well, here we go. If the Rams win, this is Rams' house, But I'm like, well, guess what? I mean, you still got to win 3 to actually beat the Raiders fans out of here. So yeah,
right.
So I would love to see, like, you know, the Rams. If the Rams do win, great. Okay, cool. You got your win. Let's get our win next year. Like, okay, fine. I don't care if it's not a home game or whatever, but let's just make this happen. You know, let's elevate ourselves out of the minor leagues in football and into the majors and make us real strong players. Because we talk about the NFC East. I want to just wrap it up real quick. Talk about the NFC East being the NFC least a lot because right now they're just kind of a terrible division. However, all of their teams have won a Super Bowl. They're the first division to get that in their history books that, you know, they have all 4 teams won a Super Bowl, at least one. I think the average is about 2, whatever, like, you know, 2 or 3 or something.
Yep.
But and, you know, if the Bengals win, then they're going to be the next team that actually has all 4 teams winning a Super Bowl. So so that'll be pretty interesting to see. And you know, and I hope that, you know, the Chargers, if we win, then we're now on that list as well. And so I'm really looking forward to that happening, you know, in our lifetime, for God's sake.
Hey, if they do get to the Super Bowl next year, it's here in Arizona where I'm at.
Oh, that'll be amazing,
would be awesome.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
So,
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. But I'm looking forward to it, man. Good off season. It's going to be a good fun season to be able to see where we get to. I mean, off seasons are where championship and enthusiasm continues for fans because they think we got this new guy. This guy's going to elevate us to this level. But I think the Chargers aren't very far off. Yeah. And if they do the right moves, if Tom Telesco, Brandon Staley make the right moves through the free agencies, that's step 1, and then the draft, I think we could really get to that level because I think we're really, really close to elite, very close to an elite franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one last thing I would say too is, and it's hard to keep this in mind, that this is also first-time head coaches for a lot of the coaches here for the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of Joe Lombardi. He's been like, you know, offensive line coach, you know, quarterbacks coach, all this and that, right? He's this first year really calling NFL games, right? So, you know, I think there were some things behind the scenes that you know, probably affected some wins as well too, right? But you know, the one thing I will say though, I think they built a really great team culture. And I will say this, one thing about LA likes winners, right?
Absolutely.
So it will be what happens once the Rams, if they were to win this Super Bowl, they have to cut most of their players. They just can't afford them, right? So they're going to lose a good majority of the players. They probably will not be as competitive next year.
Yeah.
And let's see where the Chargers end up. Oh, wow, the Chargers are great all of a sudden. Oh, actually, I kind of like the Bolts, too. Let's cheer for the Bolts, right?
Yeah.
And the LA fans we know are fickle, right? They like winners. And Brandon Staley and Justin Herbert play a very marketable brand of football. It's exciting to watch. Every game is interesting. Every game is through the roof exciting. And Kyle, you and I were at that Chargers-Steelers game.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I literally had to check my pulse because I was like, oh my gosh, I have a stroke. I didn't know I could call.
Yeah, dude. I was like, hey.
That's a marathon. Yeah.
It was just crazy. But again, to your point, James, we're close. And I really think with Telesco and Brandon Staley this year, this offseason, they'll put together a better team.
Yeah.
And look, if we don't make the playoffs next year, it is a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
Huge disappointment.
You know, we should have made it this year. I mean, let's just face it, we could have.
Yeah.
But this next year, you know, we've got to make the playoffs, and I think we have everything we need to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, and one last little point I was just thinking about here, and I think we keep saying last points, and we continue to keep having points, but I don't know how many last points we've already said, but one thing that I always think about is when a young team gets into the playoffs, say, as an example, the Bengals. I always think, no, they're not going to get to the Super Bowl because they have to learn how to lose to be able to win.
Yeah.
And they got to the Super Bowl, and they figured it out. And they had a pretty tough road to get to this point, and they made it happen. And I think this is one of the first times in a very, very long time that I've seen a young team, second-year quarterback, get to the Super Bowl and win it. I think the last time that I think it was a weird stat that it was like 2 quarterbacks that were second-year quarterbacks that ended up getting to the Super Bowl or whatever were named Joe. So it was Joe Montana and Joe Namath that got to the Super Bowls.
And
now you got Joe Burrow.
Joe Byron?
Joe Byron. So it's kind of going to be an interesting thing. A young team that actually went from like a losing last year to basically winning, or at least in the Super Bowl, to be determined if they do win the Super Bowl. But I mean, I'm saying next year Chargers haven't been to the playoffs with Joe. Man, I got Joe stuck in my head. Justin Herbert. So I think there's a great chance that if we really build that right elite-based team, we could be that team that gets to the Super Bowl next year. And I would love to see that in my lifetime, that they win one. You know,
please.
You know,
I will get that Chargers tramp stamp tattoo.
That's right. And that actually brings me to my last point.
Last point.
Thanks for watching, guys. You know, please share, like the video, subscribe. We got a lot more of this stuff coming. You know, we're on all the social medias. You know, just kind of share. You know, get up on there. TikTok, Instagram, obviously here on YouTube, and we're on all the podcasts. You know, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it. We're all there. We'd like to hear from you anywhere. Just we're always open to conversation. Just send us a message. And guess what, guys? Bolt Bros, here we go.
Bolt Bros, we out.